Hello, and thanks for joining me on Life in Surround. Today's topic is the brand new Afraid of Sunlight Deluxe Edition by Marillion. Alright, so Afraid of Sunlight Deluxe. What do we get? As per usual with their Deluxe reissue series so far, we get this book size package. And because I ordered from the band and ordered early, I also got this print with signatures. And you can see back there that I also got that for Clutching at Straws. See the book. There's already been an unboxing done by Classic Album Reviews, so I'll just link that below and ask you to go watch that. But I'll show you real quick. You get a couple CDs up front. Get the hype sticker telling you all about the CDs and the Blu-ray. You get some essays. You get different art from over the years, band pictures from over the years. Mostly from way back when. One thing I found really interesting was a letter that was written from the head of the Bluebird Project, Bill Smith, the Bluebird Project leader. So one of the songs is about this speedboat crash. And I guess speedboat is a bit of an understatement. This thing was designed to do 300 miles per hour on the water. And so, let me see. The song Out of This World is about that crash, and Bill Smith heard the song one day during a dark moment in his life. It really touched him. He put together a diving expedition to go recover the craft, and it's become quite a thing. So the band goes into that a bit on the documentary. That's included in the Blu-ray. This is the most disorganized unboxing ever, but here's the Blu-ray, and I'll be talking much more about that. And then a couple more CDs. So you get bonus tracks, you get demos, you get early versions, and importantly, in my opinion, we get 2 CDs worth of a live show from 1995. And I say that because I do have a growing affinity for Steve Hogarth era Marillion albums, but at this point I really like the band live with Steve Hogarth even more. So I'm definitely interested in checking out the Live at Rotterdam 2 CD show that's included here. So anyway, quite a value in this package. I like that they incorporated the cover artwork that Steve Hogarth always wanted to have gone with back in the day. I prefer it to the actual cover. So Steve, you were right. The band was wrong. And I'm glad that your request has finally been honored. So, let's talk about the 5.1 mix, because after all, that's what this channel is all about, right? Afraid of Sunlight has been mixed into 5.1 by longtime Marillion Surround collaborator, Michael Hunter. Now, that is chagrining news for some. There is quite a bit of sentiment in the surround community that Michael Hunter does not mix as discreetly as many would prefer. Now, I do sympathize with them, but I also don't hold a philosophy that surround mixes need to be as discreet as possible at all costs. I think different kinds of music lend themselves to more of a dense sound, and other musical art forms call for more space and more separation. So let's talk about Michael Hunter's history with the band just for a second. To get more of a sense of his style before this deluxe set came out, I tracked down the 3 Blu-ray copy of A Sunday Night Above the Rain, which does include his mix of Sounds That Can't Be Made on disc 3. So that's a hot tip for you. If you can find this 3 Blu-ray set, disc 3 is Sounds That Can't Be Made in 5.1. Now, is Sounds That Can't Be Made as discreet and aggressive as I like to say? as a Steven Wilson typical mix? No. And neither is Steven Wilson's Misplaced Childhood, which you can see up there. Michael Hunter has a different style than the typical most aggressive mixers, Elliot Scheiner, Steven Wilson. He tends to let the band really permeate throughout the room and has a very thick sound. But parts do tend to favor either the fronts or the surrounds, and at times, certain parts are also rather discreet. The way that I would describe Michael Hunter's style is that supportive elements and sound effects tend to be the most discreet elements of his mixes. The band, including guitars, drums, bass, and lead vocal, tend to favor the front and tend to be the least discreet. There are exceptions, especially guitar overdubs, as well as the more prominent keyboard parts. This approach tends to work pretty well for me. Now, another thing to mention about Michael Hunter is he has not only mixed Marillion's studio albums into surround, Radiation, which I'm still trying to track down, so if you have it and you hate it, please send it to me. Fear, which I have on Super Audio CD, Sounds That Can't Be Made, and now Afraid of Sunlight. But he's also done a lot of live mixing for them. The bad news is his live mixes, as with his studio mixes, are not quite as discreet as the most aggressive live mixes available, but are more discreet than the typical live mix you're going to encounter, where you just have the band entirely up front and some audience and some hall reverb around you. Michael Hunter does mix important musical elements into the surrounds of his live mixes, and in my opinion, he does an admirable job, and I have enjoyed his output. So I hope that sort of gets the point across as to what you can expect from a Michael Hunter 5.1 mix. In my opinion, his work on Afraid of Sunlight is a bit more discreet than he has been in the past. It is still not quite as discreet as a Steven Wilson mix, and to date, in my opinion, the craziest, most surroundy, wild Marillion 5.1 mix is Brave. And I think Steven Wilson's mix of that album fits it absolutely to a T. And I also think that Michael Hunter's mix of Afraid of Sunlight fits it very well. Musically, I find Afraid of Sunlight to be the most like Misplaced Childhood of the Steve Hogarth albums that I've heard so far. And in the sense that I find them to be musically somewhat economical and concise, I really feel that Hunter's approach works pretty well, and some intuition may have gone into that. So let's dig a little bit deeper into one of the songs, just to try to do Hunter's work a little bit more justice. He has isolated the lead vocal into the center channel. The drums are predominantly situated up in the front left and right, so is the bass guitar, and so are a lot of the guitar parts. Keyboards tend to be dominantly in the surrounds, as well as guitar overdubs and background vocals. Sound effects can appear anywhere in the mix, but do tend to favor the surrounds. Notably, during Gazpacho, toward the end of the song, a chopper starts in the front of the room and exits through the back of the room. Other notable mix moments happen during Cannibal Surf Babe, when this theremin type sound, which may be actually a theremin or it might be a keyboard, ping-pongs from surround left to surround right and back and forth, and so does a shaker type of percussion. And speaking of Cannibal Surf Babe just for a second, it so happens that I've been listening to and reviewing 2 albums with psychedelic artwork and a clear homage to Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys. Both happened to hit my house one day apart, so I'm referring to the Dukes of Stratosphere Psurroundabout ride, and now Marillion's Afraid of Sunlight. It's just funny how both bands incorporated the same influences on these albums, and reissues happened to hit my house that close together. To my ears, and across 4 listens to the surround mix so far, there is this moment in Beyond You that gets really bright. It's like right when the first chorus hits. Fortunately, the moment only lasts maybe 10 or 15 seconds, and then the song deepens up again. I'm not sure if it was a conscious decision by the band to maybe drop bass guitar and keyboards for a while, but each and every time I've listened through the album, I really don't enjoy that moment. Again, it's not lasting. And another potential problem to report is that some people's Blu-rays have been seizing up during the second track. On my Sony X800, it's done so once, and it has not done so twice. My fourth listen I did via my Oppo, and it also had no issue. So it seems to be sort of a random, sporadic issue. My Blu-ray looks fine, there's no defects that are visible, so just thought I'd pass that along in case track 2 freezes up on you. Don't panic. Maybe just reboot your player or try another player. Alright, so bottom line, do I recommend this? The answer is yes. Based on the 5.1 mix, I find it to be balanced, effective, and enjoyable. Is this mix going to silence Michael Hunter haters? No. It is more or less in line with his well-established style. While I do believe it does provide a bit more separation than typical, it does stop far short of the most discrete mixes that are available. I think that's all fair enough, and there is no accounting for taste, so if a somewhat less than ultimately discrete mix can satisfy you, I urge you to give this a chance. The package has great value, the mix works for me. Sonically, I think the album sounds better in surround than in stereo. You get the concert, you get the B-sides, the demos, the early versions. You get a band documentary, you get the promo video of Beautiful. And I can really see why the band holds this album to be somewhere like in their top 3. I like Misplaced Childhood a lot. I also happen to like Sounds That Can't Be Made a lot. Fear is growing on me. Brave is definitely growing on me with the Steven Wilson mix. But so far, I have found myself really enjoying this album. I like that they kept it short and sweet. They were under time constraints because their relationship with EMI was ending and they owed them one more album. They wanted to get on with their more indie career. But sometimes under pressure, artistic and meaningful and wonderful things can happen, and I think that is the case with this album. I'm glad that it's been reissued in surround because now I know about it. That is the #1 way that I experience new music these days. So congratulations Marillion, Michael Hunter, good job. That's about all I have for this one. Please don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, give a thumbs up. If you're interested in surround music whatsoever, subscribe. I have hundreds upon hundreds of titles that I intend to get to. Thanks for your comments, thanks for your encouragement. Let me know what you think about the Afraid of Sunlight reissue. Let me know what you'd like to see reviewed, constructive criticism, and all that. I hope you enjoy, because that's what this hobby's all about. And until next time, live life in surround.